To start with the session, just a backdrop to the session. Some of these statistics state that India has typically witnessed around 4,80,000 road accidents in a year, and which consequently result in around 1,80,000 fatalities. And commercial vehicles are responsible for around 25% of these incidents. Simultaneously, if we see cities like Mumbai and Delhi, they are already in the most hazardous pollution space. And again, transport related emissions are the key contributors. So, in this backdrop, the India's regulatory agenda for commercial vehicles has actually entered a very accelerating phase, with the government having mandates simultaneously for safety, compliance, and emissions together. The transition to the BS6 from BS4 directly in April 2020, skipping BS5, was a historical leapfrog for the commercial vehicle regulations. And now, with the BS7 norms upcoming in 2027, this is again a major regulatory change for the industry. Mr. Sonar, I would like to ask you that with this Bharat Stage 7 norms on horizon, is the industry moving fast enough to keep up pace, or are the timelines really unrealistic?
Sure. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. So, firstly, thank you very much for having the first question with me. Uh, Let me put a perspective in the sense that is the industry fast enough, or are we fast enough to get the regulations? I think it's also a perspective. In what terms are we really checking for that answer? Are we fast enough? If I look into the European market, possibly the regulations in Europe are already there. I am basically from ADAS and autonomous part of it. So if I talk about ABS regulations, I'll focus on the safety aspect. ABS regulations were there in Europe since 2013. When we are getting it is 2027. So there's obviously 1 or 2 decades, possibly a gap, right? Back to a question: Are we fast enough, or are we late enough, or we don't know? But on the other hand, I think we also had a discussion outside that what Europe or Japan or other countries have done is they have brought this regulations in different chunks over these 2 decades or maybe 3 decades. And before that, the systems were already existing in the market with various OEMs also. What we have in India is the same set of regulations in 2 to 3 years of time. So with that respect, is it fast? Of course, sounds to be fast, 2 decades versus 2 years. On the other hand, what was really clustered, which took possibly a maturity level in Europe and other countries, possibly we have a lot of lesson learned from them, which we can surely adapt when we implement this regulations with us. Again, are we fast? Are we realistic? One more perspective which we can put across is that we know that we are very dynamic, at least from ADAS perspective, very dynamic environment. Uh, if I drive a car or a vehicle in Europe or US is more organized, the way we are organized typically in Indian roads is a differently organized, I would say. And that needs a very, quite a lot of upgrade in our architectures. So there are pros and cons that if we want to be fast enough, that also needs technological enhancement, that also needs the architectures of the vehicle to be upgraded, and we are also cost sensitive market, so make a step by step upgrade rather than that giving a big hit to our logistical owners here to take a hit on a customer's visit, good or bad. So that's a different story. So of course we are quite fast. Are we realistic? There are multiple things. I would also leave this question with the audience that when we have to upgrade any of the regulations or systems, it's not only vehicles, it's the entire software and electronics. It's about the validations, it's about the infrastructure and environment from a tooling perspective to the actual dummies, actual roads or the test roads, uh, all the infrastructures to go up, where possibly testing a speed of vehicle might happen in 200 meters. Possibly ADAS testing might need much more than that. So are the test facilities also equipped there? And then is also most important is we heard since morning that technologies are available. I would say from ADAS also technologies are available. From safety, lot of technologies are available. Are we as users equipped to take? I have a vehicle which has ADAS in it. When it breaks, at least I know the technology and I know how surprised I become even after knowing the technology. Imagine a driver, a Sarthi, facing that kind of an emergency brake of warning. Are we fast enough to train those drivers and those users, end users? That is one another aspect. I have one more perspective on the realisticness. Being realistic, I believe, is up to us. Not to get into any pure geopolitical topics here, but we have a neighboring country who is quite aggressive and fast to introduce technology in their vehicles at a quite unprecedented or a unrealistic timelines. What stops us? We have good talents, we have good technologies, we have good tie-ups with the developed countries. So unrealistic, I believe, is a mindset, and it's up to us. If we take the challenge, we can make it happen. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you for that. Yes, sir. Sure.
Just to add to what he said, another corollary and perspective. I have been very active in the all the panels which are now discussing BS7 and in line of what has happened in Europe. So, first thing is whether we are going very fast is not really the question. The question is whether we are bringing regulations appropriate to Indian conditions. I think that is far more important. In Europe, if you follow the discussions, what happened for Euro 7, they thought that for passenger cars, probably electrification will go a long way and far more percentage of vehicles will be electric. So, they diluted the passenger car Euro 7 regulation, kept the values same as Euro 6, only widened the testing parameters a little bit. And now they are finding that ambient air quality improvement hasn't happened that way. So probably electrification did not happen the way they expected. It was not that fast enough. So less electrification as per their expectation, and therefore they should have really tightened the passenger car limits far more, which they actually did for heavy commercial vehicle. When it comes to India, Indian driving conditions are different, Indian temperatures are different, and then stop and go operations are different, the driving speeds are different. With all that, all the testing protocols have to be refurbished to compensate and to leverage Indian local conditions. That's very important. So the real drive emissions have to be as per Indian conditions. That's number one. And secondly, when you come to finalizing this, it's not important just that you meet the emission compliance. Are our vehicles going to meet it throughout their life cycle? So durability, in use conformity, checking the durability during the entire lifetime, all this is important. So, and with a lot of electronics coming in, the limitations of the test agencies to rise to the occasion and have provision for sensor calibrations, software derived vehicles, and also some aspects of cyber security. That infra of the test agencies has to increase. So we may pose to be doing very fast. We have skipped BS5 and gone directly to BS6. We did a great job, but a very meaningful, which affects the ambient air quality for controlling the critical pollutants is important. And therefore what we should do, like Europe, is also have accurate source apportionment, find out which are the critical pollutants for India, and then target those to be tightened very much. Thank you.
Sure, no, that's a good point, sir, because typically we've seen these differences in not just the road conditions, even the fuels, the efficiencies, etc. And that's why that homologation becomes really important. With that background, Mr. Biswas, I wanted to come to you that the transition to BS7, which is going to happen soon. So, how are the OEMs in terms of the commercial vehicle manufacturers as well as even the fleet operators? how are they looking at this transition? Are they well prepared? What else? Sir mentioned about the architectural changes, etc., that will be required. So, how is this transition panning out for the OEMs and the fleet operators?
It's a nice question. So first of all, I would like to thank CBF. So this is my first time I am attending this event. So if I consider your question, I want to split it into two segments. Already from the previous panel discussion, you already understood that how rapidly we adopted all those regulations. We started in 2000. When 2005, we have that Euro 4 in globally. We have the Euro 4 in 2017, and then we moved to Euro 6 or CBS 6 in 2020, and then we have the RD. Now you have to understand that it's not about only the technology maturity; it's all about the ecosystem. And also, one of the discussion people are highlighted, it's also the capex versus opex. You have to go with that trade-off. So now, first part maybe the technology maturity. Definitely from the I am representing Volvo. It's a global organization. Definitely we have the technology maturity, but same time we have the globally also challenge. We have the challenge in globally as well, not only the India. What kind of challenge? Because that with respect to that Euro 7 emissions norms or say BS6 emission norms, it is coming up with additional requirement like the brake emission and tire emission. Along with that, there will be some additional component. And even in the BS7 or Euro 7, the coal stat emission is one of the stringent requirement that is very tricky. And to meet all those things, you have to go with the dual dosing. That is also bringing the additional cost. So you have to, as I mentioned, that ecosystem, it's talking about also the supply chain. So they are investing some money, and before they come up with some break even, going into the puppet mode, they are shifting to different emission regulation. So this kind of scenario may impact. And other side, the affiliate operator, for them also they have to handle it, because this is very tricky scenario, because we are passing all those additional costs to the affiliate owner. So I feel we have to go with the more kind of strategy, and we have to think in that direction how we can make all those policy transition more strategic way by developing the ecosystem organically and more strategically, and then it can be a win-win for everyone.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Vinod, if I can come to you. So, Sir did mention about the fact that the ecosystem needs to be developed. Yeah. So, how do you see the auto component suppliers as well as the drivers being adjusting to these changes? I mean, most of the drivers in India would not have these formal education, and they do not really understand these advanced electronics well. So, how do you expect the driver community to get trained and to adjust to these new regulations and softwares?
Thank you, Kinjal, for the question. And thank you, CVF. It's an honor to be here for the 10th anniversary. I think very important topic about whatever technology we do and we develop and implement in the vehicle, unless the drivers or the end users is not really able to understand, comprehend, there's no use. I think forget the fleet drivers. Many of us, sometimes we ignore certain warnings in the vehicles. We switch off the start-stop system or ADAS system. It's more of, we don't really understand the background behind it, and it feels it's more of annoying. So I think the first thing needed is basically educating the drivers on the importance of such warning systems. Of course, there are trainings both from the government, like the Driver Training Institute, and some OEMs do take in training the many of the fleet owners or drivers on the use of modern technology systems. But it's not sufficient. Most of the times they feel they intend to switch off. It's more of annoying. They really don't understand the warning or the message behind these systems. So it could also be because of long drives, the fatigue of these drivers. They're not really worried on what is really happening with the system, with the vehicle, and they just want to commute from one place to another. Second, a lot of aging population. I think little technology hours, so we should make it as user friendly as possible. And one way is basically we need to introduce more trainings, more importance of these systems on how it really helps them to really safely, securely transport. Probably, one idea could be link their licenses with a certification mandatory, that only if you complete a certain certification, you can renew your license and things. And, more such advancements would really help. I think it's a need of the hour unless we educate and bring this awareness of all these modern advanced systems to every end user. Such switching off of all safety critical regulations, whatever we do, it will not reach the end user, and it continues to be the same way.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Mr. Patwardhan, if I can come to you. We as ICRA had done an analysis wherein we realized that over the last decade or so, when these regulatory interventions came in, overall the cost of CVs have increased by roughly 25 to 30%. So now with an additional expectation of 25,000 to 80,000 increase in the price of the commercial vehicles with BS7 norms coming in, do you think that the demand for the CVs could get impacted in the near term?
Thank you very much first, and thank you CV, and thank you too. Since it's a safety focused thing, rather than answering to your question first, I would answer a basic question here. See, when it comes to safety, whatever fitments we are doing, see, safety comes with, there are three factors to it: man, machine, and environment or infrastructure. The kind of traffic what we have, in that traffic, for example, if you put sensor, it will keep on ringing all the time because your people keep on coming very near to you. If you put auto braking, it will suddenly brake if that two-wheeler comes in front of you. So a rear person will come and bang on you. So these are some of the things which are happening. If you go blindly to whatever is happening abroad, we adopt it here. And it will add only to your cost. Just to give examples, there are some safety features which are added in commercial vehicles. Like only for commercial vehicle, before that, you said about accidents, about 180,000 dying. So how many people are on two-wheelers? What we are doing about two-wheelers? All regulation is coming on only CVs. So what is happening to two-wheeler? Majority accidents are happening on two-wheeler. And one of the major reason is their horsepower and acceleration. The kind of speed what they take, it is impossible for a trucker or bus or even car to manage their speed and stop at a particular point. So we are doing nothing on that front. We are doing no safety features for two-wheelers. So 25% of the accidents which happened for CV, I think out of that also, in majority cases, you will find two-wheelers. So unless we take care of that part of it, only fitting something in CVs is not going to help. You are having 4 air balloons or whatever into cars or buses, cars. There is nothing for two-wheeler, no. So how many people are actually dying because there is no balloon in the car, and how many people are dying on two-wheelers? So what should be done first? So first priority should be for safety of people and not safety of people sitting in the vehicle only. So there are many people, those are outside also. So that is one. Because of all these fitments, like safety, for example, there are now this sprinkler system in the buses. So major question I would like to ask is, why there are more fires in Euro 6? Why there were comparatively less fires in Euro 4 vehicles? So if you look at the numbers, very recently, you will find there are many accidents happening because of fire, and that too in Euro 6 vehicles mostly. So we need to find out, is there something wrong in the vehicle? Why only Euro 6 vehicles are catching fire? So you are fitting something which will happen only if their fire comes. Then we are not studying there are FDSS systems. So in how many incidences that FDSS system actually has helped, there is no data. So we should be looking at ultimate result rather than only thinking about fitting something which is just available in the market or which is used abroad. So that ultimate result of that fitment needs to be studied, and accordingly some corrections needs to be made. Otherwise, you are putting only on cost on vehicles, so vehicles are becoming expensive. If I go by, say, any high-end car, Mercedes, BMW, Volvo, with yellow number plate, I need to go below 80. If I change color of that number plate for the same vehicle, I can go at whatever speed is written there, 120. On some routes, there is no speed limitation also. So I can go at 150 also. Only by changing color of the number plate is safety gain, you are getting something out of the safety. No. So everything is coming on to commercial vehicles, which is adding to cost. Because of that cost, operation of commercial vehicle is becoming expensive, because of which people avoid going by commercial vehicle and they go by private vehicles. In taxi hire particularly, people have started asking for private vehicle because it goes faster. Your taxi goes slow. So what people have started saying, why use that speed limitation? So we'll tamper with speed limitation because otherwise I will lose that business. So something which you are fitting, which is not actually providing you results, is useless. So we need to find out result, what is happening, whether it is beneficial, and then think of continuing with that fitment. Panic button, used for safety of passengers. In buses, if you push that panic button today, which started from 2019, nobody comes to the help. So it is kind of a cheating button. So you hope that you will push that panic button and somebody will come there for help. There is nothing available. There is no back-end system available. So we are spending 14,000 rupees for panic button, but nothing is happening. So most of the fitments which are come for this safety, they are not actually gaining any result in reality. When it comes to Euro 6, our Euro 6 vehicle fuel consumption is more than Euro 4 vehicle. At least by, say, about 0.4, means about 10 to 15% consumption is more. So when your consumption is more, are you reducing CO2 or you are increasing CO2? Because you are burning more fuel. So when you are burning more fuel, are you actually gaining out of reducing CO2 or increasing CO2? You may be collecting carbon particles, but what about our gases? So we need to actually look at this from different point of view. Holistically, we need to see what is the result and then accordingly make the laws and rules. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Mr. Pathak, if I can come to you on a related point which sir was talking about different norms for passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles. So in India, these regulations for passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles have historically evolved at different paces. Now, as regulations tighten for these commercial vehicles, how do we ensure that the compliance does not become a barrier for fleet renewals and modernization?
Yeah, thank you first for the opportunity for CVF actually. See, basically, safety, as you mentioned that about 1,80,000 people lose their lives every year due to road accidents. While the issues raised by Patwardhan sir needs attention, what I mean to say here is that safety is paramount. And that is how actually the government of India is now trying to move from passive safety to active safety. And that is the reason actually very recently we have implemented AIS 153 for buses, wherein the electronic stability control is one of the important aspects. Many cases where the buses roll over, in fact, in the recent accident in the Ghat at Expressway, almost about 24 hours jam was there because one of the truck, the hazardous goods truck rolled over and the complete road was blocked. So certain aspects of safety is required to be brought in so that, what is sir is pointing out about two-wheelers, yes, that is also important, and we are also working on two-wheelers also, sir. There are various safety aspects which are likely to come for two-wheelers as well. Upcoming regulations, particularly as far as road safety and commercial vehicles are concerned, we all know that effective 1st of January, there will be AEBS for the new models for commercial vehicles. And ABS again, as I mentioned, is a case where we are moving from passive to active safety so that the accident doesn't happen at all. Similar is the case for all other systems which are likely to be in place. Government of India has already notified that beginning 1st October 2027, we would have the blind spot identification system. We would also have the moving off information system, lane departure warning system, and more importantly, driver drowsiness and alert systems. What is required, as some of the colleagues have mentioned, is the training of drivers. Yes, training of drivers is also equally important. And not only that, even otherwise, training of each and every driver who even runs a car actually, because there are few accidents where the airbag inflation has taken deaths. Airbag, which is meant for saving us, has actually killed some young boys sitting in the lap of the co-passenger. It is important that training aspects needs to be addressed in all forum wherever and it is required to penetrate further. Safety aspects need to be brought in, and that is how, as I mentioned, moving from passive to active safety is important. While the issues brought in by Honorable Prasanna sir also required to pay attention actually, because system should not only be in place, it should be effectively maintained. But yes, it is required to be brought in definitely. Yeah.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Dev, if I can come to you. So, we're talking about how these regulations have been emerging and whether those are relevant for the Indian context or not. So, there are a lot of researches globally which happen around this clean transportation, etc., and the emission-related regulations. So, in the Indian context, the current policies, etc., that we have, how do you think are those policies aligned to these research outputs? Or do you see gaps in the policies which India has compared to these research which happen?
Thanks, Kinjal. I think it's a very valid question. And thanks to CVF also for giving us the opportunity and hosting this wonderful session. Globally, and I include India also in that, the transport sector faces 4 challenges. Number one is the real world compliance issue. Now see, we have the homologation done for the vehicles, and most of this homologation happens in a very controlled environment, right, on a chassis dyno. And when the vehicles ply on road, so emissions shoot up exorbitantly highly, like 10 times, 20 times. So if you notice, when we talk about the Euro 7, difference between Euro 6 and Euro 7 is now it's more real world compliance. It's not only that the lab test important, it is also important that how those vehicles fare when they actually ply on road. Number 2, on-road monitoring. On-board monitoring basically. So what happens is if you have stricter norms and you fit in all the after treatment systems, you have to make sure that those systems work entire life, right? So if 15 years, 10 years is the life of the vehicle, you have to make sure that your after treatment systems work efficiently. So onboard monitoring is one step ahead of onboard diagnostics, right? So we have OBD right now. It only detects fault. It doesn't, find out how their systems are being monitored. Number 3 comes the decarbonization pressure. So we all know that climate is changing. So every OEM, every nation, they have their net zero targets. Now in the decarbonization pressure, important is that your regulation should enable zero emission vehicles, the cleaner vehicles into the fleet. So corporate average fuel economy is one of the regulatory mechanism which is being used by Europe, US, China, you name the country, and they're using CAFE a lot for enabling the manufacturers to sell their dirtier vehicles. At the same time, they are also incentivized to have a cleaner vehicles. Right. Even in India, we have the CAFE norms for the 4-wheelers, and I think there is a discussion going on in BE for having a CAFE norm for the commercial vehicles also. They have floated a norm, I think last year, and currently for the commercial vehicle, we have a per vehicle cap. So it's not a CAFE norm, and basic lacunae of a per vehicle norm is that there is no incentive for having a zero emission vehicles. Like if some OEM wants to sell electric vehicle, hydrogen vehicle, I mean, how will he get incentivized? So CAFE plays a key role. I think having a CAFE would be helpful. And last is the safety norms. I think my colleagues have already spoken a lot about the safety norms. So India needs ADAS and AAB. So these four challenges are the primary factors which are being looked upon globally. Probably Europe is way ahead, US is working on it. And if India has an ambition to become a developed nation by 2047, we are already a top 4 economy. So looking into all those four factors altogether is the key. And I think we should not leave it behind. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, sure, sir.
Just some small points. There was a recent presentation in one of the conferences, and the title of the presentation by the Delphi's CTO from North America who came, the title was IC engine is dead yet again. So last 100 years, people have been saying that IC engine is going to be dead, but it is still there. We have to realize and seize ourselves with this scenario. And therefore, alternate fuels, flex fuel, hydrogen, all what IC engine can use as alternate have to be developed very well. But while we do that, the effects of that also have to be, seen very clearly. For example, when you add a lot of ethanol, the aldehydes emission goes up, which are not regulated. When I used to head in my heydays air as emission lab, the code of federal regulation 86 was like a bible. In 1985-86, California designated aldehydes as a carcinogen, and even till today we don't have aldehydes regulated. While we are using ethanol more and more, what about the aldehyde emissions, which will be very detrimental? That has to be controlled. So, secondly, particulate number, the Delhi situation. So PN10, the smaller the ones which are more inhalable, they stick to your lungs, so a big problem. So particulate number instead of mass has to be regulated. So all these new emissions, now Euro 7 has already designated ammonia as one of the additional pollutant which is to be controlled, not only recorded, but also regulated. So as we use different fuels and as we use different technologies, what are its side effects, and we have to make sure that as a package, we improve the environment, not go in one direction. Thank you.
Sure, sir. So just a complementary question to your answer. So typically we've been following these European regulatory framework in terms of these emission norms, and that also gives the Indian OEMs and the entire ecosystem a roadmap to see how their investments should be to comply with these upcoming new regulations that will be coming in. But not all would be applicable in the Indian context. So what learnings do we have from these various regulatory frameworks of these developed countries, not just Europe, but even for that matter, other countries? And in the Indian context, what do you think should be more applicable and should be brought into India?
Yeah, it has been already said that the test protocol for India has to be far more simulative of Indian conditions. So the real drive emissions can be decided accordingly. Secondly, as I mentioned, what are our critical pollutants in India? What is critical in Europe will not be critical in India. So what is our critical pollutant and how we can control that and thereafter increase the improvement in ambient air quality. So specifically identify critical pollutants, India specific, testing as per Indian conditions, the real drive emissions, and throughout the cycle. I think these are the things which we have to learn from Europe. They are doing it, and we should also do it again. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Mr. Dev, since sir talked about testing, so this homologation and the approval is going to be a critical area here. So how is the Indian framework equipped to handle these changes and to do these testings and homologations? Sure, sir, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, as far as ESCs are concerned, we are already 153 compliance have been started issuance actually various, even that has been made applicable for all bus body builders also. So OEMs plus bus body builders and OEMs are also well equipped with ESC, and we are also well equipped with ESC electronic stability control. And upcoming days, AEBS, BSIS, the MOIS and lane departure warning systems, the standards are in place actually, and yes, we are confident enough to actually meet those challenges, because you also have because these all AI standards are based on UNR standards. So we have, background of those experiences also. Yes, there would be some issues while we move ahead, but I think not an issue. We could sort it out while we proceed further.
Sure, sir. Yeah. Mr. Vinod, if I can come to you. So, typically, all these points that we're discussing will lead to high cost of regulations. And most of the times, these high cost of regulations will fall on the fleet operators. And many of them, almost 85% of them, are these small fleet operators owning less than 5 trucks. So, what do you think are the changes in the overall system required so that one, capability wise, and other, financial capital availability wise, these small fleet operators can adhere to these regulations?
I think very important question, Kinjal. I think we should look at in the perspective of end user safety, whether it's a small fleet or a big fleet. End of the day, the impact is for the vulnerable road users. So we have to see how these can be implemented in a seamless way. So even before on implementing, we have to look at how it is in the first place even designed. The safety systems, whatever we speak, ADAS systems and things. These are all meant to kind of protect the end users. It has to be designed in such a way that it can be easily, seamlessly incorporated in bigger fleets, smaller fleets, and how these smaller fleets also will be able to deploy it at the same time, still run it. And in the previous sessions, we saw that cost of all these technologies is run down to the fleet owners and to the drivers and to the users. So technology at any point of time is helping to save people. So we have to look at how this is kind of seamlessly transitioned, over a period of time, and how even big fleet or small fleet owners can also take the technology and save users. I think biggest impact comes in, I think, the big fleets or small fleets on the cost of the vehicle overall. Okay. So when we speak about all these new technologies, the cost of validation is something very high. Okay. As an individual component, every tier ones, everyone will provide it, but integrating it and testing it holistically is a big challenge for the OEMs. So this is something where we have to focus on how we all come together and make sure that this is of course cost intensive, but it is not passed on as a burden to the to OEMs and finally to the fleet owners, to the end users. This is something which we have to work on. Probably one idea could be on we do some kind of virtual validation. Not everything requires a real world physical validation. We'll have to see if homologation also accepts virtual validation as one concept, thereby reducing this cost. How do we can deploy this development cost and pass on this benefit to the complete ecosystem and chain.
Professor, thank you so much. I think in the interest of time, I just want to have one line comment from each one of you on, see, if we look at the next 5 years, which of the regulatory change, whether on the safety or emissions or on compliance, would be most transformative in terms of how the commercial vehicles are being sold, built, and operated in India? To start with you, Mr. Biswas.
I think so. This area, coming days, already the many of this panel discussion happened. So it will be not only with the diesel, that is definitely sure. We'll have that mixing of the technology. Few will be the ICE base, LNG or hydrogen ICE for heavy vehicle segment. Last mile mobility definitely with the electrical or say BEV. Similarly for dedicated route supported by the government, that area also can be run with the electric vehicle, and also CNG and ethanol based others will can be possible. Now this is one part, and secondly, second part you have to look into, as discussed many times, that it's not only the adaptation of any compliance or regulatory norms. We have to understand the ecosystem. The scenario available in globally versus our India, it may be entirely different. So we have to adapt accordingly. That is one part. Secondly, you have to understand the applications. So application based also some adaptation is required, like the any safety systems have, like you are running in highway, one of the bus application. Definitely EBS lane departure, that's may be helpful. But you are running in the within the city with the heavy traffic of 20 kilometer speed you are running. So all those kind of features may be an add-on or burden to the customer. So you have to understand all those analogy.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Vinod, a
Yeah.
quick
In
comment
the
from you.
interest of time, I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
I think I would say the biggest transformation would be on compliance. My view, compliance is not just a one-time end of SOP. It should be an evolving with a lot of this over-the-air updates and things. I mean, in short, every day morning you switch on the vehicle. It should see if the updates are perfect and everything is perfect, connect over cloud, and then give a green signal. Like how do we do this flight checks? So every truck or every commercial vehicle should have a check. It's compliant as of now, as of today with the latest scenarios. That would be the biggest transformation.
Thank you.
Of course, coming from safety, I'll focus on safety for surely for the emissions, for the transmissions, powertrain. It has been maturing in India as well for last many years. But safety is something which possibly might disrupt. Say the ABS regulation when it comes over is aspect comes for me to deploy ABS in a truck is not only about putting a couple of sensors and one ECU. It's also is challenging the performance of the braking system and the durability of the braking system. So does comes the functional safety, and then the entire mechanics is going to be upgraded. So that is one aspect of regulations from 2027 to 28, which comes those 5 different features is going to demand quite a heavy changes in the vehicle. I believe that is one which goes heavier. And the second is for sure a software-driven vehicle is a big thing. In two-wheelers, we have seen, at least I have one two-wheeler which updates on its own. But for surely, as the industry grows, possibly we will also reach there.
Thank you.
We have already talked about realistic testing and life cycle simulation as per Indian conditions. But adding to that, I think we must identify the gross polluters on the road and remove them very firmly. If we need to go to parliament and have a legislation adopted for removing the old vehicles, we should do that. If it is politically difficult, then city council should be encouraged to give funding and run retrofit programs for old vehicle. So a major gap remains to reduce the pollution from the old vehicles, because whatever we do on the new vehicles, the impact is not felt as long as we take firm actions on the old vehicles. So that's I think very important. And also increasing the mass transit. We are reading in the newspapers in Pune that all the IT guys in Hinjewadi are constantly complaining that the metros are not going up to Hinjewadi as per the schedule. So a quick push to public transport and metros is
Sure.
I think order of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think regulation should be dynamic and it should keep on changing depending on the results of previous things what we have done. Unless we see result and then make corrective changes, it is one-way traffic. So you are doing something, but you are not checking what is happening, what is the effect of that. So that is very important. That's why I say regulation has to be dynamic and it should be dependent on results of whatever we have done before.
Yeah, there are two things driving actually, as we have discussed. One is net zero by 2070, and the other is road accidents, and aim is to reduce road accident rates. So another 5 years, and with the PME drive scheme, wherein 38,000 electric buses are meant to be deployed throughout the India. 5 years time down the line, I think electric buses, and then it would be followed by hydrogen, as we have discussed in the other panel discussion. And road safety aspect, definitely another 5 years time is a big time. Very soon, as we discuss, AEBS and all other ADAS systems would be there, and maybe another beyond 5 years time, I think I'm not sure, automated vehicles could also be one of the aspects.
Sure.
I think cleaner technologies that can replace the oil, the crude oil import bill that the country faces. That's the need of our. I think it will not take 5 years. I think 1 or 2 years should be the maximum. So cleaner technologies, lot of electrics, lot of hydrogen, and let's have let's remove these fossil fuels from our fleet.
Great. Thank you so much. With this, we end the panel discussion, and thank you all so much for all the insightful comments. Thank you so much.